Well, folks, we are in unprecedented times as something that has never happened before in the entire history of Bitcoin has officially happened today. So in today's video, we're going to talk about exactly what happened, what I think about it, my general perspective on this has never happened before idea. Also, we're going to talk a little bit into, what I'm expecting going forward. What am I looking for from this market? And then I'll finish up with exactly what I'm doing as an investor to try to take advantage of these times to maximize my gains in the long term. But with that being said, of course, let's just simply start with, well, what happened? What we can see is that Bitcoin is now sitting right around $19,000. Now, I know that is a low number and we're in the teens and people are nervous about that, but that's not what has, of course, never happened. What has never happened is the fact that we have now officially set a low below the previous all-time high from a prior bull market. Every time that we would come back down, or we would go up and set a new all-time high, whether it was 2011, whether it was back in 2013, and recently, of course, 2019, we had never up until this point come back down below the prior bull market's all-time high. We didn't hear, of course. And so due to the fact that that has never happened, many people consider that it probably would never happen, of course, up until this point. And I saw that circulating loads and loads throughout, many of the interwebs, right? Through Twitter and through Instagram and all this stuff. People saying, well, it's never happened before, so it's probably never going to happen. And I just do not like that mindset. Matter of fact, while we are seeing, some new precedent getting set and a new low being set below the recent bull market's all-time high, we're also seeing the weekly RSI at the lowest level that it has ever been to. Not only that, though, the weekly MACD, again, at a lower level that it's ever been at. And so, of course, these are, again, unprecedented times, and they are causing unprecedented actions. This is something I talked about on my Twitter, actually, just about 2 days ago. I say, look, let's be real. From the creation of crypto to now, we have never seen a time in the market or of the world in this nature. The pandemic could have caused it, but we got bailed out by the Fed. We don't have that option now. No indicator such as the RSI will solely decide where the bottom is. In my opinion, there is very little use in saying that things are out of the question because they haven't happened in previous cycles, because the world is nowhere near the same as previous cycles. The best thing we can do at this point is trust the fundamentals and watch crypto show its worth and value to the world as we go through what I believe to be the ultimate longevity test that crypto has ever seen. May the odds be in our favor. And what I meant by this is that many people were saying, well, we've never gone below the all-time high, so it's not going to happen. Right? Or it's never happened before, so if it does happen, then that must mean that crypto is dying or it's dead, right? Or these really extreme, ridiculous ass statements that really don't make much sense, but we see that all the time in crypto Twitter especially, right? And what I want to kind of go ahead and drive in is the idea here that realistically, the world that we live in right now is a world we have never seen while the crypto has been created. From 2000, let's give it 2010, just to give it some leeway, to now. We have never seen a time like we are now. Sure, have things appeared to be worse at first? Sure, yeah. You look back at the pandemic, that was much worse in my opinion when it first started. We all thought millions of people are going to just evaporate off the face of the earth, billions of people at that the world was going to end, and all this craziness happened. They were like, we've never experienced a plague like this, in hundreds of years, so the world has to end. Why would crypto stay around? And crypto survived. Okay. Now, why? Because we saw the Fed step in and be like, nope, not letting that happen. We're going to bail you guys out. We're going to help. And every situation that has kind of come up while crypto has been around has been somewhat manipulated, influenced by the higher powers that be, whether it be the Fed or the government in general, to kind of get us out of it, right? And so considering the fact that that's not an option here, right? We don't have the Fed coming to save the day. We don't have anyone coming to save the day. And we have to weather this storm and really see how strong the roots of crypto are. It is no surprise that we are seeing something that has never happened before happening. We are in times that we've never seen before, so obviously we're going to see things we've never seen before, and that is okay. That doesn't mean crypto's dead. It doesn't mean that we're never going to come back from this. It just means that times are changing, and it's something that is so new in crypto. We are going to see things of this nature that we will not have any history to base our current events off of, okay? So going forward, what I'm looking for is the last glimpse of hope, of support, and of macro support that we have. Now, what that's going to be, in my opinion, is this 200-week moving average. Now, historically, let's just talk about some history. Since we're going to hold on to history, let's talk about the last piece of history we have. The last piece of history we have is that no matter what happens in these bull markets, this 200-week moving average has served as support. It has done a good job of at least holding us up in the short term to get us another bounce to the top side. And while we are near it, within this 10 to 15% range of it, at any given point, we could start to bounce back up to it. And I do think it's very likely that we do bounce back up to it at some point soon here. You look back to, the pandemic. We recovered back up towards this level and continued. You look back to the general bear market bottom that we put in back here in 2018, that's where we went down to before continuing. You look back to, even 2015, back in August, boom. This is where we continued, okay? So there have been many historical times in which we will go ahead and establish this point as a bottom and recover back up to it if we do fall below it. And I don't think there's any point in counting it out and saying that it can't do the same thing. But I'm not going to guarantee and say that since it happened before, it's going to happen again. So what I'm personally doing is for the next 2 weeks until the end of June, going into July, I'm going to see if we're capable of recovering this 200-week moving average. Currently, it's sitting at $22.3 thousand, and I do believe it should start to kind of flatten out / go down over the next few weeks. But over, the next 2 weeks, are we going to recover it and get back above it, similar to what we did back here, during the pandemic? Or are we truly confirming that we are in a completely new time in crypto, in which it's going to look like us falling below the 200 a week and not getting back above it immediately, just staying down below it and starting to figure out some more things that are going to happen at some of these lower levels over the next couple months? The failure to reclear the 200-week moving average puts crypto in a position to likely either consolidate or go down for multiple more months, in my opinion. The likelihood of us getting a rejection off this 200-week moving average and then still getting back above it is extremely low. It's more likely that if we get a rejection here, that we will need to consolidate or we will need to even further decline into the, maybe even next year before we are capable of seeing enough bullish momentum to get back above it. It will be extremely important to monitor this 200-week moving average because realistically, it is the last piece of history that we do have of where these macro bottoms can be established at. Okay, so personally speaking, I'm really not going to do too much here. I have been shorting a lot over the last couple weeks. Of course, you guys did see that I talk about this in the Patreon quite often. This was the last trade we did in the Patreon over on June 16th. I told them, hey, I'm going to enter on a 2x leverage short at about $20.6 thousand. If we do lose that, I'm expecting us to go towards $20,000. So of course, I'll take profits there. What that was looking like was like a 7% gain on 2x leverage, right? So again, entering at 20.6K and exiting at 20,000. And what you can see is that if we do go ahead and just look at how that did play out. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the 4-hour charts here. You can see that we lost this first key level of support. I did go ahead and enter in right here. Boom, and we did eventually hit that loss. That's take profits level right around 20.1 to $20,000, of course, for what would have been about a 7% gain on 2x leverage. But I did close it a little bit early because I was at an event and I couldn't see the charts, while I was in the arena. Okay, but anyway, so what you can see is that we have been doing short trades a lot and quite consistently over the last few weeks, and we've made quite a good bit of gains off of it. But considering the fact that we are venturing into such an unprecedented time, I'm not very comfortable going in on leverage trading to the downside because you never know at what given point does history start to show signs of similarity in which we bounce back above this 200-week moving average and start to look to maybe even get a relief rally to the top side. And I don't want to get caught leverage shorting while we're setting these new unprecedented lows. What that's like is like going long and leverage buying at all-time highs. It really just doesn't make much sense because you don't know at what given point will this thing start to reverse, because it's going to start to reverse at some point, okay? So in terms of leverage shorting, I am going to start to slow down a little bit on that because I don't think it's the best idea. And I am going to start to pick up on my accumulating and my dollar cost averaging a bit. I think while we are starting to see these levels being lost and while we are starting to venture into these bottom, teens, right? The $19,000, $18,000 level, I think that the risk to the downside is very minimal. I don't even see crypto falling another 50%, or Bitcoin in general at least falling another 50%. I don't think we're going to go below $10,000 or even close to it. And so for that reason, with such limited downside, although it may take a while, it may take another year, I do think that the bottom side is very limited with extreme top side potential over the next couple years. So for that reason, I do think it's worth it to be doing some type of accumulating at this point while also slowing down a bit in terms of short-term trading and short trading itself, right? So Overall, I'm not very concerned with this. I'm not all too concerned that we're seeing something we've never seen before. That's what happens in times such as these. And not only that, though, I think that it is normal and this is going to be beneficial going forward to set some precedent of what we can expect in the future as we do start to experience these things we've never seen before, right? So overall, it's not something I'm too concerned about. It's not something I'm worried about. I think the downside is very minimal at this point and limited, with a loads of upsides towards, the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. And so for that reason, again, at this point, I am slowing down on short trading and increasing on my dollar cost averaging to the downside because I think there is that potential there. But with that said, that's just a quick update for today. And of course, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you can always let me know simply by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you are new. And I will see you all next time. Peace.